They didn't even wait for me to finish my sentence. My father had barely looked up from his newspaper when he muttered, "Then go." My mother, arms crossed, lips curled in a cruel little smirk, chimed in with something that would echo in my head for years. "You'll be back begging in a month." It was winter. Not the storybook kind, but a raw, brutal December that bit through my coat as I stood on the porch with a duffel bag and nothing else. No money. No plan. Just stubborn pride and a silent vow never to give them the satisfaction of seeing me crawl back. They kicked me out over a fight. Or maybe it was more than that. I'd been arguing with them for months, about college, my future, their rigid expectations. About being their puppet. About never being heard. What finally snapped was when I told them I was dropping out of the state college they'd forced me into. I had no interest in accounting. I wanted to be a writer. That night, my mother's voice turned ice cold as she said I'd brought shame to the family. My father, stoic and stern as ever, said nothing as I packed. I slept in my car that first night, then on a friend's couch for 2 weeks. I lied, said I was between apartments, ate once a day, worked part-time jobs, and wrote whenever I had an extra moment. Somehow, I survived. And then I met Sarah. She was a waitress at this tiny cafe where I washed dishes. She'd sneak me leftover muffins at closing, ask about the bags under my eyes, laugh at my dry sarcasm like it was the funniest thing in the world. She didn't look at me like I was broken. We clicked fast. Fell faster. Within 3 months, we were sharing a 1-bedroom in a rundown complex with peeling paint and thin walls. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building something on my terms. Years passed. I worked harder, smarter. I turned my freelance writing into a full-time income. Then a book. Then 2. I became someone. Not a millionaire, but someone who could afford a real home. A better one. And Sarah? She was still by my side, sweet, soft-spoken, radiant in a way I never thought I deserved. When I finally proposed, it felt like redemption. I wasn't the loser they cast out anymore. I was a man with something to show for the pain. The wedding was small. No parents. No apologies. Just people who actually cared. Sarah looked beautiful. The kind of beautiful that steals your breath and fills your lungs all at once. I remember thinking, this is what winning looks like. I should have known better. It started slow. The late-night texts she'd hide. The phone calls she took outside. The sudden interest in working late, when she'd always hated her job. I asked once, and she deflected. Asked twice, and she snapped. So I stopped asking. Until the night I came home early, and everything shattered. I heard it before I saw it. The giggle that wasn't hers alone, the deep murmur of a man's voice. My keys clattered in the lock as I pushed the door open, praying I was wrong. But I wasn't. They were tangled on our couch. Her dress half off, his shirt on the floor. My home, our home, turned into a stage for betrayal. She screamed. He bolted. I didn't even move. I just stared. "Say something," she whispered, clutching a throw pillow like it could shield her from what she'd done. I said nothing. Just left. For a while I wandered. Drank. Slept in my car again. Full circle. Funny how life works. It took a week before she showed up at my office. Red eyes. Apologies. Excuses. She said it was a mistake, that she was lonely, that I had become too focused on work. You were building a life, but I didn't feel like I was part of it. That was the moment I knew I couldn't forgive her. Not because she cheated, though that was enough, but because she made me the villain in my own story. I filed for divorce. Quietly. Coldly. She cried. Her family called me heartless. But I didn't care anymore. Months passed. I wrote another book. Moved to a new city. Started over again. This time with deeper scars. Then came the letter. A thick envelope with familiar handwriting. From my parents. Inside was a note from my mother. Flowery. Pretending the past never happened. My father added a few lines, stiffer but just as false. They had heard about my success. About the books. About Sarah and the divorce. They were proud of me now. They wanted to reconnect. Maybe even visit. I didn't reply. But I did keep the letter. Not for sentiment, but for proof. Proof that I didn't need them. That I never went back. Never begged. That they were wrong. I wish this story had a neater ending. That I found love again. That I forgave everyone. But the truth is, some stories don't end with healing. Some just end with survival. And sometimes surviving is enough. Because when they slammed that door behind me at 17, I walked away thinking I had nothing. But I had the only thing that mattered, freedom. They tried to break me. She tried to betray me. And yet here I am, still standing, still writing, still free.